This is Akashvani. Time for a weekly program, Our Guest. I hand over the mic to the show host, Nitish Arora, for the same.
How green is your planet? Are you really contributing for that cover that nature has given us to survive? Are we contributing enough? That happens to be a question with which I am going to start today's Our Guest. And I'm happy to have Kush Sethi, who considers himself to be an urban gardener. He has graduated in chemistry and something called green chemistry. Welcome to our studios.
Thank you, Nitish ji, for having me here.
And you chose gardening as a profession and you call yourself an urban gardener?
Mm-hmm.
What propelled you to this and how good is this as a profession?
I didn't necessarily start thinking that I had to grow plants and think about design. My story starts with my first job, which was being a researcher in the Delhi Ridge forest. My job was to walk there every day with this reality that I'm coming from a scientific temperament. I don't necessarily know forest management, species, gardening, horticulture, but I know scientific methodologies. So the idea is that I'm mapping the forest, looking at what seems to be good practices or bad practices. I had very good mentors who pushed me in the direction of other subject experts in the city, people who were working on the Yamuna, on forests, on plantations, and very simple things like experts on butterflies, bees, birds. It almost seemed like through their knowledge, I was able to look at this forest as like a book, and then each of these people were opening new chapters of the book. And while, all of this new information about how efficient and sustainable forests are, I would come back every day back to my urban, home. And on the way, I'm noticing, why do the plants of the city look so different to that of the forest? Why do these require so much care, maintenance, water, labor, constant sort of pruning, and also the horticultural waste that is produced by the city is either composted to some extent, but also dumped into a landfill. So
many times burnt also.
Yes. So it's a very, again, like as I mentioned earlier, I have started to learn to look at things as a cycle. And I'm noticing that a forest is a cycle, but the greens of a city are not cyclic. It's very linear. It's very resource intensive. It's drawing a lot to kind of keep it alive.
So from the real jungle to the urban jungle,
yes,
creating green spaces here in urban jungle. How daunting a challenge was that and how have you come up to that? Because many people say that we really want to increase the green cover, but where are the spaces? Where should we plant? So how do you create that green spaces and how good is the response from the people?
I am lucky that I didn't try to look at it as a big task because, you would have come across this term of climate anxiety and climate fatigue, which a lot of young people, Gen Z, would feel because, everything seems so grim and the world is ending kind of news that it almost feels like that we can't do anything. Thankfully, when I was doing my research, my intention to start to grow was to find answers and not necessarily to solve any problem.
Okay.
I was like, I don't want to take all of that burden on my shoulders, otherwise I can't do anything. And then it started with me doing experiments on my parents' terrace. This is controversial, but and also very true. All people who start gardening start by stealing cuttings from public spaces by sharing, asking from each other, sometimes not asking. And I think that was also sort of my journey.
But most of the plants, they do need pruning, and I think one can't say that they are stealing it and they are multiplying it.
even you notice sometimes when Mali has sort of finished his work and you'd see like a lot of cuttings thrown by the side of the road outside the house. So that is something sort of I started with, and I had this unnecessary rule for myself that I wouldn't buy things. I would collect the soil. I don't know why I set that rule for myself, but again, maybe from the context that I don't want to learn from fresh, new resources.
Okay.
I want to work with what's already waste for somebody else. And because I was doing all these experiments, I was learning. Food became one interesting sort of direction to go in because food grows fast. We'll go from seed to germination to leaf growth to fruiting within 3-4 months, maximum 6 months. So that's also a faster way of seeing the cycle of a plant and learning. So I think I started to also delve into growing food. One thing I've also early on cracked is that all plants like volume. They're not necessarily growing in very small spaces. When we grow in gamlas, and especially those terracotta tapered gamlas that you see, the volume inside is very low.
The earth volume.
Yes. So I started to look out for discarded materials like water tanks, bathtubs. Started with sabzis and lots of salad greens. Maybe like one tank, one bathtub, and a few pots. I've managed to grow cauliflowers in the first go. I managed to grow garlic shoots, not whole garlic bulbs in the under the ground, but garlic shoots for sure. Palak is easy, methi is easy, dhania is not so easy, but in my second or third attempt, I figured it out. Growing food taught me how hard it is to grow food. You can't forget to water food crops. True. With other ornamentals, you can forget. You can make more water retaining soils and you can put drip and things, but which is also
so
actually.
now, apart from the food on the rooftop, you have also grown quite a bit, understood the logistics of it. What do you tell to the listeners, people who are listening and really want to have something of their own? How can they utilize their minimum spaces for an urban green space?
I think this is a whole lesson in itself when I do teach courses when I go to universities, and it takes a month for something like this to unravel. But to kind of maybe summarize it, I feel growing plants has to be a bit intuitive. Inquiry and observation have to be the first point of starting. You can't just think about spending money and expecting results. Of course, you can have a Mali who can come and kind of be, hold your hand in that process. Whenever I've designed even small gardens for people, I speak to them a lot. I try and understand how, or at least push them that, let's grow things that you will engage with every day. If you're only into flowers, maybe let's go in that direction. But I would also encourage people to grow some food, even if they've not called me to grow food, because I know food requires you to look at it every day. Food is going to attract a lot more bees and butterflies. And also there's a result at the end, which is, you'll harvest it and you'll eat it and it'll go to your kitchen. There's again that, that cycle of you sowing to it, you eating, there'll be a lot more engagement with food.
What are the food items that can be grown here in Delhi, in gamlas, in balconies, in stilts?
Again, season to season, if you are looking at, for example, grew in the summers, all the gourd families. So if you think about your space, you can obviously use your verticals by growing things vertically. If the listeners have had experiences of loafing around, on highways and walking into fields, they would have seen that Karela often is grown on bamboo trellises. So Karela, Lauki, even Tinda and Khira, a lot of these all come under the vine and gourd families. Mm-hmm. They can be grown vertically. In the winters, you can also grow French beans. In summers, lobia is possible.
Any particular mantra that you want to share? So many people try growing newer things, fancy things, and bring a lot of things from the nursery, which ultimately dies down. Should they start with a seed or should they start with the saplings?
That's a good question. I would say when you're trying, don't limit yourself to any particular method. And also, I think this is a point when, when something doesn't make it. And when you have a plant die, it can be a little, it's sad.
It is.
And so it's important to keep reading, but it's also important to be aware that nobody is a born farmer. And, we have grown up in cities. We don't necessarily... We may not have that green thumb, but it's important to try. And I mean, I joke that, try, kill till you succeed in growing a plant. And sapling is a good way to start because there's a higher chance it's an established plant. Seed can also be very hardy, and it's good to ask these questions. And I feel online versus a local shop, you can hold a local shop accountable. You also know that all the malis are buying from a local shop, so you don't need reviews. You can see those faces and you can just ask questions and get your answers at a local garden center as compared to an online shop, I feel.
And how about the indoors? Many people feel that they've got the indoors and done. They don't need sunlight anytime, and because that is how their plants also die. Because for the indoor plants also, you need to expose them to natural light and air.
Like for 1 second, just step back and don't look at this vocabulary of indoor, outdoor. Just think about where plants grow. Nothing grows indoors, essentially. What is indoors? Indoors is a man-made term. When we are trying to, or think about the British when they were traveling the world, colonizing, but they were also looking at plants and trying to see, okay, we have a similar ecology in a different part of the world. Can we take a plant here and then try to grow there? I think try and imagine plants that way. So when you're looking at a plant or buying a plant which is being sold as an indoor, try and maybe just identify the name of the species and look up where and which ecology it's from. is it from like a tropical rainforest where it might grow in the undershrubbery of taller trees? So that means it's adapted to grow in low light, filtered light, high humidity, which is usually what the low light plants category would be. And try and see in your house, can you create, or do you already have that kind of a space? For example, in a newer construction in the stilt floor parking area, you might have very cool kind of, the temperature would be very low. And if there's a light shaft or something, you'll have some filtered light and you can probably grow tropical plants there. But compare this with the terrace of the same building, it's just not possible. And if you look at east, west, north, south, south is the side which will get sunlight for the whole day. So try and imagine a more hot subtropic plant for the south side of the house versus the north, which is not going to get perhaps just like morning and
light.
west. Look at your more high humidity, undershrubbery, low light plants for that side. And for indoors, I would say the trick is try and not put plants where there is no filtered or direct light coming inside. By the window is usually the best. If it's completely in the dark, I wouldn't recommend. You can explore grow lights. There's enough tutorials on YouTube. Also, you can just try with an LED bulb. You don't need those pink lights because, it changes the environment of the house.
Which means if you keep on trying, you can succeed and you can make your surroundings green. That is not a big thing.
Certainly, like just try a few times. And yeah, even when I teach, I necessarily don't always have answers. I'll go look it up. What I've learned is whose tutorial looks the most accurate and who's not lying. I'm able to catch that. Then I share those further.
So we started this interview with your introduction and knowing about you, and then jumped onto the plants. We will end with again knowing from you that where exactly and what are the spaces that you have planted and what are the kind of experiences you have had that you want to share as a parting shot, because we don't have much of time left for it.
In terms of gardening projects, I've done mostly in Delhi. I've done two in Gurugram, and I've done 2 in Noida also by now, 1 in Faridabad for an office recently. I don't like to keep count, it makes me anxious. So I'm just happy that I've been doing these mixed projects. And in terms of experiences of clients, I've had a wide range of experiences. I've also learned to set expectations for the client from before. I try and keep them incorporated in this, journey of designing the garden, and also taking them through the failures, because ultimately when I step back, they will have to do this firefighting and engage with, what's working, what's not working. So the hand holding with the garden, I feel, is a very emotional, and it becomes this very intimate relationship for any client when I'm helping them build a garden.
And one last question. If anyone is interested in taking up this as a profession, any youngster, would you advise them to do it? Go for it. I mean, is there money in it?
There is certainly money in it. I think there is. If there were no money, we wouldn't see these these family businesses running nurseries. All the big nurseries around Delhi NCR that I see, there's maybe like 3rd generation, 4th generation running it. So there's certainly money. I think what it comes down to is what model do you want to create for yourself? Like for me, ethics were very important. I didn't want to look at plants as a commodity. Money wise, there is money. Try and look at, again, like find your knack. What is it that you can do? Can you do experiences around nature or ecology? Do you want to grow and sell them as products? Or gifting is a big market. Again, like working with architects is also opening up, because it's called biophilic design, which is a term that is starting to get popular. It's coming from Singapore, and vertical gardens also became very popular. Even all types, even working on land within urban spaces, it's all kind of opening up. So there's a lot of room. I feel just don't copy other people's business models. Find your niche and I also feel like just learn to do business well.
Plants have sustained human life so far, and it is time for us to give it back to them. Profitable or not profitable in terms of money or moolah, but then again, we need to plant the plants. Kush, thank you for being here. Keep spreading those happinesses around. That is something which Mother Nature needs us all to do. Thank you so much, Kush.
You were listening to the weekly program Our Guest, that is broadcast every Monday at 9:15 a.m. Don't forget to tune in next week, same day, same time and same frequency for more on Our Guest. Have a nice day.